Dr. Wells, do you have something?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, before we go on to our moment of silence tonight, I'd like to take a moment and ask us to remember a couple issues that we have going on in Amherst County as well as in the nation, in the world. First, Mr. John Andrew Pfister was a teacher at Amherst County High School, and he passed away unexpectedly on September 21st of 2023. Mr. Pfister was an integral part of our faculty at the high school and a cherished member of our Amherst County Public Schools family. I ask that we remember his wife, Mandy, and their 2 children and their other family members, as well as keep our students and staff in your thoughts as they continue to come to terms with this passing. Additionally, I'd like for us to remember the families of those killed and wounded as a result of the Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel, to include the 27 Americans who have been killed and those that have been taken hostage and are still missing. So as we go into a moment of silence, I ask we remember those individuals and take some time for our thoughts with them.
Thank you, sir. Can we stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Board, I need an approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Dr. Wells, we have an agenda.
All right, thank you, sir. And again, Mr. Chair, members of the board, tonight we're starting with some student recognitions. And so we've asked schools to select a student of the month for each month. And so this year we're going to be starting to recognize those students from our schools at the board meetings. Tonight we're recognizing the students of the month for September. So I have the names of our students, and I'm going to go to that microphone here and call them out. I'm going to ask them to come up, and if we could, maybe get a picture of them in front of the board. We have representatives from most of our schools, but not all could be here tonight, which we understand. But I would like to have those that are here be recognized, as well as those who couldn't be here tonight.
Great.
All right. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down from the high school. I'll do my best not to mess your names up. If I do, I apologize. I'm going to read the student's name, ask them to come up, and I'll read a little narrative as to why they were selected. So first, from the high school, we have Skylar Hamilton. Come on up, Skylar. She was nominated by one of her teachers, Mr. Alonzo. Her narrative says she has straight A's and has perfect attendance. In addition, she's always an extremely positive attitude and is always willing to help. And the high school sit there so proud of Skylar. Right there is fine. Thank you. Next, from Manelson Middle School, we have Skylar Rawson. Skylar. Skylar has done an amazing job transitioning from elementary to middle school. She currently has straight A's in her classes, participates as a member of the volleyball team, and has received positive referrals from her teachers. So we'll recognize Skylar and Skylar, both Skylars here. Next, from Amelon Elementary School, we have Delilah Davis. Come on up, Delilah. So she's a kindergartner in Ms. Booth's class. As September Star Student of the Month, Delilah is so sweet. She is always on task, respectful, and kind to her peers. She represents the Amelon Bulldogs well every day. So congratulations. From Amherst Elementary School, we have Finley Glover. I don't believe she could be with us tonight. Is Finley here? Okay. So she's our Star Student of September. She's Miss Dawson's third grade homeroom. She was nominated by her third grade teachers, Miss Dawson and Miss Harvey. Finley epitomizes the school motto of going far. She is focused, accountable, and respectful. and she tries her best to do well in school and be a friend to all. Central Elementary School, Tiara Romo Asensio. And she is a fourth grader at Central, was nominated by Mr. Thompson. Tiara is an extremely well-behaved student and has allowed herself to be challenged in her math studies. She has overcome the obstacles of not knowing the concepts right away and continues to push herself in this area. She is a true model of hard work and overcoming educational challenges. Congratulations. Elin, we have Miss Allison Shoemate, and I don't believe she could be here tonight. But Allison gives 100% every day. She supports her fellow classmates and is always ready to assist her teacher, Mrs. Bussey. She soars every day. And then from Madison Heights Elementary School, we have, Caslin Witt? Yeah. Did I pronounce it right? All right. She's nominated by both her peers and her teachers. She continually demonstrates responsible resilience and respect for her entire school community each day, and they say congratulations. Thank you. In Temperance Elementary School, we have Miss Aria Sprouse and Mr. Martin. I did not get a description of why she was nominated, but she was nominated from them, but she cannot be here tonight also.
Well, I'm happy to say that she's a perfect example of being thoughtful, team player, and trustworthy.
All right, so thank you. All right, so let's get how are we going to organize this? Will everybody, can y'all stand?
Yeah.
Mr. Terry, you want to come down?
Sure.
And y'all want to please go? There we go. I'll get on.
You put her up on your shoulders, Chris.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
No speeches or anything, that's right.
You can't even see her.
So what we will do, parents, is we'll get some pictures, we'll send them to you, and we'll also have a certificate for the Student of the Month. So you'll be getting those from us. We'll probably get it to the school, and they can probably make it easier to the school to get it to you. We'll make sure we get a copy of the picture for you as well as a certificate. Okay? Thank y'all very much. Yep. That's the best part of the night right there.
That's right. That's right. Okay, moving on to 3.01, public comment. Ms. McNerney, do we have anybody sign up? No one signed up. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to approach the board? Okay. Well, seeing none, we will move on. Consent agenda 4.0. Board, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on.
All right, so next we have administrative, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Hoden.
Yes, sir. Today, we actually had a meeting over at the high school for the construction project, and we have all the permits in place. We're just waiting for that final signature on the contract, so we're excited that it's very close. And hopefully, within the next few weeks, we'll be digging some dirt. I know Dr. Wells is eager for that. I think he wants to get the shovel out there tomorrow, so do Mr. Rokes and I. So we'll keep you apprised on that, but they know that after the last football game that we'll be ready to go. So we have some talks today about moving in their trailers and their job site things. So we'll be hopefully doing that in the next week. So that's a positive thing. Next, the Stronger Connection grant. So we had applied a few months ago for $350,000, and we were notified this week that we received the grant. Now, what I don't know yet, Mrs. Conich and I are working on putting it in Omega, but We have not been told whether we got the whole thing. I'm hoping that we do. It sounds like we were allocated the whole amount, but as you recall, that was for the school hardening, which would include some of those, the door hardware and the 3M film. So we're pretty excited about that. So hopefully we'll receive that full amount, and as soon as we do, we'll get that information out when we find out about that amount. So that's a great thing. We have not gotten any information on the DCGS grant, hopefully by the end of the month. And we are working on the school construction grant, and we are positive that we will have higher numbers and get that grant this time. So we're looking forward to getting that in. It's not due till November, and I would say probably January or maybe even February before we find out. So it's a few months off, but hopefully we'll get that so we can get the added funds to get a couple of those things added back in the project that we had to cut out through VE.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
And then 5.02, student suspensions for September. You have that report in front of you, and there were a few late additions on there for some extenuating circumstances, so it should be 3 that were added after you got that on Friday.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, 6.0.
So next, we have Finance, Ms. Lukanich.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the school board. Before you tonight are your September financial reports. It's your standard reports where everything's going as anticipated. The one thing I did want to point out, I mentioned it at the last meeting, and the gap is a little bit larger, is that your child nutrition revenue and their expenditures, it is a wider gap. When you look at that, I just want you to know that of those expenditures, almost 160,000 of that has been spent on equipment, and that is part of their spend down plan of those excess funds. So I just don't, when you're looking at it, don't be alarmed at that. That's something that we were anticipating. And again, we have that reimbursable model, so the revenue comes afterwards. So wanted to point that out. Also, the enrollment is still strong. The ADM for September was the 3764. Our budget is based on 3751. The update on the calc tool, it actually came out this afternoon. We have not had a chance to really dive into it, but we'll be able to give you an update at the next meeting. Do you have any questions on that?
Board, any questions for Ms. Lukanich? Okay, thank you very much.
So 6.02 is the school activity fund audit for the 22-23 school year. The audit was conducted in July of 2023. So 9 schools were audited. 2 of the schools had no findings. And that is a great accomplishment. Sometimes when you have staffing changes in schools, and just those combinations, as people are trying to get their processes in place, it presents some challenges. And I'm not making excuses, but I did just want to point out for context that 6 of our locations had a new principal bookkeeper combination, and that does take some time to get everything settled. 3 of our schools had brand new bookkeepers, and I do think that played a role as you're getting everyone trained. So there are some findings that you'll see on those reports, and what we have done post-audit. We conducted an all-day bookkeeper training on July 27th. The second half of that meeting, we had the principals come in. I think that was very helpful. We have created a student activity bookkeeper manual, and we are, in response to one of the comments from the auditors, we are looking at updating our student activity software. So we do take all these, all the issues seriously, and we are working on them. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Board?
Just a simple question. I know that you are taking it seriously and you're working on it, but I just asking about the software. A few years ago, when Mrs. Crouch was here, we got new software. Will this be an addition to that, or is it a standalone that you're looking at now?
So the software that was purchased several years ago was for the school division, and that is the reports that you're seeing tonight. What each of the schools have is a completely different software. And I really don't know what year it's from.
Prior to 1995, I know that.
So the one that you might be looking at, are you looking at to where it would merge with the current one we have? Or would it continue to be a standalone, but you would still have access?
We can go either way. So the software that we currently have for the division does have a component that we had looked at, but there are other softwares that would still give you the real time where people could not change anything, but have remote access to see what's going on in those accounts. So that is something that we are actively looking at.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Lakonich. This update or change in software, where are we getting the funds for that? Is this something that we kind of plan for?
Well, it's not something that we planned for, so we are looking at the calc tool, we are looking at our enrollment, we will monitor our sales tax. There's a lot of things we're going to look at. But it takes time to go through that process to see what you think is going to be a best fit for the division. We've looked at some stuff. We've had the bookkeepers got their input on as we're going through it, and it's not going to be like you purchase it and tomorrow it's implemented. So it's just in the starting phases at this time. But yes, we will definitely have to find funding for it.
Okay.
And there will be some funds because we think that the current software company is out of business. So we have not been charged for this year. So that will cover some of it. But the newer software does cost a little bit more.
And second question, the newer software, this was recommended but not a condition. Is that true?
It is a material weakness
Okay.
that was noted in the audit.
Okay, thank you.
So if we don't, you don't have to, but it will remain on there.
Thank you very much.
It's something we need to do, for being at my principal role, and the elementary school's much different than the high school. It's just how things work and how they track and all that. So it's something we need to do for more accountability, as well as I think it'll make it easier on our bookkeepers at the schools to have a newer software than what we currently use.
Anything else from the board? Okay, thank you. Moving on, 7.0. Dr.
So
Wells?
next we have instruction, Dr. Norman, and we're going to start with All in Virginia. Dr. Norman, when we start, do you want to start?
Go right ahead,
All
Dr.
right.
Wells.
So All in Virginia, give you a little bit of background on this first, and then we'll go into the presentation with you. We wanted to bring you up to date on this, and first of all, I want to start with, we had to go to schools before we came to you with our plan, because the initial plan called for it to start on Monday, this coming Monday, and we have adapted that to go to start the 24th. But in order for us to get it rolled out to schools and give the teachers some idea of what was happening in schools, idea of what was happening, we couldn't wait until after tonight. So we went ahead and pushed out to schools and kind of got them up to speed on what we were doing and the plan. So tonight I'm going to brief you on the plan. A little bit more background on this is I received an email the evening of September 6th from the state superintendent's office stating they need to be on a call at 8:30 in the morning with all the state superintendents. So at 8:30 on the 7th, we were on a statewide call, and that state superintendent told us that the governor will be making a press conference, having a press conference at 10:20 to announce All in Virginia. And that's when we found out about it. So from that point on, we received the playbook on September 11th, and then we started putting our plan in place. We met with the state superintendent, Dr. Norman, and I did the following week, and they gave us a little bit of some flexibility in the plans. It didn't have to go exactly like what was in the playbook. So we amended our concept and our plans a little bit to kind of meet that flexibility, but still meet the needs of our students. And we've developed our plan from there. So what you're going to see tonight is the version for Amherst County, and based off the guidance we received from the state. Before we get started, are there any questions before we get going too deep into it?
Board, anything for Dr. Wells?
All right. So the funding, so the state has given us 1.266, almost $1.3 million to cover the high-intensity tutoring aspect of this. They'll give us another $361,000, almost $362,000 for the Literacy Act aspect of this, and then another $181,000 roughly for the attendance aspect of this. All we have received so far is the playbook for the tutoring. We have not seen the information from the state yet on the Literacy Act aspect of it or the Absenteeism Act aspect of it. So right now, we have developed a plan for the high-intensity tutoring, but we're still waiting on more guidance from the state on the other two aspects of it. But this is all money that came in from the updated budget from the General Assembly, so this money was allocated from that budget, from those budget negotiations. We have to put in a spending plan to the state, so the money is not just automatically, we can't spend it any way we want to. They have to approve our spending plan and go from there. The why for Virginia, Ms. Wheeler?
Yep, so over the last couple of years, the state have made some adjustments in our SOL cut scores. And so when we look kind of pre-pandemic, our students' performance looked very differently than it does, of course, post-pandemic with the changes of those scores. And so what the state has found out is that many of our students who test as proficient on those state assessments after that adjustment really were having a hard time of seeing, are they truly proficient based on those grade level skills? And so the state has really been looking at that data to determine that some of those students fall in this low proficiency band and really could benefit from some of the tutoring. We'll talk about those scores and how they determine that. But that's kind of the why behind VDOE's initiative. Governor Youngkin's initiative is looking at how those cut scores have really changed and really made an impact on where our students lie.
So the why for Amherst County, so if you look at our scores, yes, we're fully accredited. Very grateful for our staff and our students for all they've done to get us to that point. But if you look at our raw data, a lot of our accreditation was based off growth and recovery points, but our raw data is still showing there are some gaps in learning, and we need to focus on those learning gaps. And so, again, you look at us from our raw information, that's kind of why we feel it's important for us to focus on this. And if you remember, the past couple of years, ever since the pandemic, really, a question of the board has been, when we look at data, has been, you know, what are we doing to remediate and tutor these kids to make up this learning loss or these gaps in learning? I don't like the term learning loss because they have to learn it to lose it. I think it's more gaps in learning because they were not instructed. If we go back to 2020 in March, you know, we shut down for 3 months and then we brought them back and we were 4 days a week, and half the time they were with the teachers in elementary and half the times they were in, because we couldn't have 8 or 9 kids in the classroom due to social distancing and that whole process. So we didn't really, the students, we did the best we could of what we had. We were able to open schools, but I really can't say that our students got the best education they could get during that time. And we know that, and that's a surprise to anyone. So now we have gaps in learning. So how are we going to address those gaps in learning? And this plan, we believe, will help us address some of those gaps that you've identified as a need, and also a way to do it in a way that the state is allowing flexibility in our planning, as well as providing funding to help cover these, our plan.
Okay, so as you know, each of our schools is required to do a school improvement plan through our SOQs. And so one of the things that our administrators are doing is they're looking at their data, they're determining through their comprehensive needs assessment really what the needs are in their building, and then developing action steps and goals to implement to support our student outcomes. And so one of the things that our All in Virginia implementation is going to allow us to do is to support the efforts that administrators have already outlined in those school improvement processes and developing the action steps. And this becomes one of those, providing that high dosage tutoring in order to make sure that our students, not only overall, but in those subgroups that we've identified as needing additional support, are going to be able to get that. And so the All in Virginia playbook really does align with what we're already doing with our school improvement plans and process.
And if I can add to that, one of the things that we did not want to do is back away from what we already have been doing, because we know that that is working for our students and our teachers and our community. And knowing that the state came in to align their implementation plan with what we were currently doing was actually a blessing for Amherst County, I would have to say.
So All in Virginia, again, it gives us roughly $1.2 million, $1.3 million to pay for this, and it covers. Technically, it covers grades 3 through 8 because that's looking at SOL testing data and things of that nature. And if you think of the third graders were the ones who were kindergartners and so forth when things happen, so that's the age. but we also feel it's important for us to push it down to K1 and 2. So we'll be doing some implementation at the K1 and 2 level to make sure those students get the at necessary resources they might need to in reading and math. So that's kind of where we're focused, but it is middle school and elementary school. It does not affect the high school. So for this, you know, we look at what the state playbook says, and it's all 3rd through 8th graders that are considered at risk or not proficient. So your at risk are those that score roughly below a 450 on the SOL test, and the not proficient are those who score below a 400 on the SOL test. It's for reading and math. It's 3 to 5 hours per week. With tutoring ratio is 1 to 10. We can go as high as 1 to 12. We're trying to keep it at 1 to 12 or less. The 18 weeks, 36 weeks, looking at what our schools and how things were, we're doing just a solid time frame versus breaking it down for the at-risk and not proficient, so everybody's getting the same amount of time. We have trained tutors. You can have trained tutors. We have opted to go with our instructional staff as opposed to bringing in outside tutors because we believe that our teachers know our kids best, and they are teachers and they know how to teach the content as opposed to someone off the street who may not know how to instruct a student. So we're using our teachers. If people want to volunteer to be tutors, we can bring them in, they can assist. If they have a teaching license, we can figure something else out, but just somebody wanting to come in and help, they can come in and assist us either in the classrooms, they can assist us at lunches, giving teachers breaks, things like that. But we welcome assistance, but we feel for extra tutoring, it's best to have our teachers and our trained staff doing that teaching. Materials, it's personalized sessions, grounded in grade level instruction, and we do take attendance. They'll be submitted monthly, so every day we have this, we'll be taking attendance. I will add that when trying to figure out the best way to do this and what's the best way to maximize our time with our students, but also not add too many additional stresses to our teachers, we had multiple options. We could do a before school option. So if I'm looking at middle school and I do before school, I have to have kids there at 6:30. We didn't feel that would go over too well with students or staff. Elementary school would be 7 or 7:30. Again, that'd be getting people in early. If you do after school, they're there till 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30. Then we have to figure out how we're going to get them home. And do kids stay? Will kids come earlier? Will kids stay? Are we really impacting the kids we need to impact? Because those are probably the kids that aren't going to be staying to do this. The other option was Saturdays. We could do 5 hours on a Saturday. And when I thought about me personally coming in 5 hours on a Saturday, and or our teachers coming in 5 hours on a Saturday, I did not feel they would be very welcoming that plan too much. Then have to get students here on top of it. How many students are going to show up on a Saturday? Probably not many. Our other option is during our holiday breaks, which would be Christmas, spring break, those types of things. And then how many kids, how many staff, we already have staff that need their breaks, and then how many kids will we have there? And our third option, again, is the summer. And we do have more flexibility in summer, but we need to really look at our scores from this year's testing to see who needs that summer work, not push it off to summer and not get anybody any help they need now until summer. So looking at it, when I talked to teachers, they were appreciative of the fact that I didn't say before school, after school, Saturdays, or breaks, but then that left one time, that's when they're with us during the day. So we have done a universal time during the day for all elementary schools, and that's 10:30 to 11:15. And then middle schools are 10:19 to 11:04. So that's the time frame for this. So it's universal across the division. Everybody's doing it at the same time. And speaking with other school divisions, some are just told the principal, figure it out. We didn't feel that was the best way to do it. We wanted to give guidance and give support to our staff, and we'll talk about more of that here in a few minutes. But that's the mindset behind why that 45-minute block was chosen during the day, because, again, looking at the big picture, when else are we going to get the kids here? And if it's best for our kids, right, we're doing it for our kids, and we're trying to improve our student performance, and that's why we chose the time we did. So 3 guiding principles of this, again, high dosage tutoring. And that means we're really focused on, we're targeting the deficits. We're targeting skill deficits with this. We're looking at low student-teacher ratios, and we're doing an acceleration approach where we're not just trying to remediate everything. We're focused on the skill deficits those students have, as opposed to remediating everything from first grade. We're just looking at, okay, this is the stuff they didn't do well on. We've identified that. They spent several hours, days, weeks, whatever, identifying that through test scores, and students have been grouped according to their weaknesses, and that's how they put in their tutoring groups. So we've identified that for staff already, for the schools, and that's kind of what we're focused on, is what deficits do the students have, and that's where we're going to focus on those deficits.
So when we received the information from the governor and received the initial high-intensity playbook from the state, one of the things that Dr. Wells and I talked about was how can we take what the state is asking us to do and really make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of our students here in Amherst. The playbook is very specific. It has a lot of recommendations, a lot of requirements in there, but what we really knew is that we know our kids best, we know our community best, and what does that look like? The first thing that I did was I formed a committee. I gave 3 very distinct and separate responsibilities. Ms. Wheeler, as you've heard her tonight, she was appointed as the person who is overseeing the entire implementation in Amherst County for all in Virginia. Ms. Wanda Smith, who's somewhere in here, was given the responsibility of handling the curriculum because we wanted it to be more than just sitting on a computer doing what the state tells us to do. We wanted to be engaging because that's our theme this year. That's what we want to get kids back to learning and being engaged in learning. So she is heading up that. Ms. Natalia Cecil is overseeing all of the master schedules within our schools and what that is for elementary and middle school, and working with principals in regards to grouping and what that looks like. The remainder of the instructional staff has really been focused on grouping students. I had the entire staff pretty much the last couple of weekends ago take over 2,000 students, their student performance by question, and review every student's questions, what they got right, what they got wrong, took the top 6 across each grade level in reading, the top 6 in math, and then looked individually at every single student and selected which ones of those top 6 across the grade levels did that child not do well in. And then they took that information and then they grouped 10 to 12 students by the skills that they were weak in or where they showed deficiencies in, and where we could make sure that teachers didn't just get a random grouping of 10 kids that all needed 10 different things or 12 different things. That took quite a bit time for my staff to do, but it was one thing that we were able to take off the plates for our administrators. Our administrators are trying to run their building. They're trying to do the remediation programs that we already have in place. They're trying to make sure that things are running smoothly, and we didn't want to add one more thing to their plate. We also made sure that we have, it's an umbrella effect, where we had 2 different programs going. The high-intensity tutoring that we're required to do, but we also knew that we have some kids that mastered information. We're on grade level or above grade level, so we wanted to give them opportunities, and that is through an extend program that we're running at the same time. And I believe that's it until we go to the next thing.
So on that, so we really looking at, some of the schools only have like 15 kids per grade that don't need the tutoring. 20 kids per grade that don't need tutoring. So we had to do it all in, as it says, because we got 75, 80 kids in that grade that needed it, only 15 didn't. So we couldn't just pull those 85 out. So we had to do something where those 85 get what they need, plus the 15 get something to move them further along as well. That's kind of why we did the double.
And one of the things that we were in the playbook given by the state, we were not allowed to pull students from core content areas. We were not allowed to pull students from their elective classes, and we were not allowed to pull students from health and PE. So there really wasn't a lot of time that we could take students to pull them. So who is eligible, Ms. Wheeler?
So if you look at the guidance provided to us from BDOE, looking at, for our third graders, it's going to be the fall growth assessments that they just took at the beginning of the year. For our students sitting in grades 4 through 8, it's using their spring SOL assessment for both reading and math. And so the state provided us, remember, based on the change in the cut scores, they've determined that those students who are not proficient, so those students who did not pass their SOL test, should have that 36 weeks of high dosage tutoring, whereas students who passed that test with a 400, which is the pass rate, and maybe went up to a 447, for example, for that grade 3 math test, they would be considered that low proficient or at risk, meaning those are students that we don't have a really good read on as to whether or not they're truly proficient with that grade level skill set because of the change of the cut scores by the state. And so just looking at that, essentially kids who were under a 450 would qualify for this tutoring support. And when we look at the next slide, you'll actually see that by grade level for our division and then by school, a large majority of our students fall in that low proficiency or at risk, which is what Dr. Wells was just speaking about, that really there's such a small percentage of our students who showed that proficiency with a 450 or above, and even they have opportunities that were missed during the pandemic. So it really was important for us to be able to provide the support to all of our students sitting in the building. And this slide is just showing you the number of people that are needed in order to pull this off. And that's where we've talked about the need for all of our instructional support in our buildings to really be all in to provide this targeted support. So we have those small groups to be able to meet the needs that have been identified for them.
So when we talk about what impact this has in our schools and across the division, there's several things that are very specific changes that are going to occur. What we did is we chose to back up the requirement to start on October 16th, or the recommendation from the state to start on the 16th, and move it to where we begin this program at the beginning of the second 9 weeks. A lot of things have to happen in Power School in regards to changing a master schedule for a middle school or an elementary, how we set that system up, how we designate kids to specific teachers. We're required to take attendance so that the state can get data to say whether or not this is actually working, and if it is working, how we would be continually funded for the upcoming school years. So we wanted to make sure that we had lots of things in place for administrators and for our teachers to be able to move things through. The first thing was, again, changing the master schedule at each of the schools. We probably spent about a week and a half with our administrators, a small committee of people working on how that looks at each of the middle schools as well as each of the elementary schools. Every school is different, so every master schedule is different. And what we tried to do is make as much of a consistent program across the division as we could. A 45-minute bridge time, the state recommended that it should be 60 minutes for high-intensity tutoring. What we have decided is 45 minutes gives us some good quality chunk of time, and it did not take away from other content areas where we couldn't pull kids from. We still had to give 60 minutes in for math, and we still had to give 110 minutes, I think, is our requirement in for language arts. We still had to give 100 minutes a week in health and PE. So we could snag 4 or 5 minutes or 6 minutes from each content area to get that 45 minutes. But the moment we start going to 60 minutes is the moment that I can't provide the number of minutes I'm required under the Virginia Code. And so we decided to do 45 minutes, which gives us a really good chunk of time to work with students. Attendance, of course, has to be taken daily. Our middle schools they take period attendance, so every period the teacher takes attendance. Our elementary, They take daily attendance. This time they will actually take a second attendance during this block of time. So we have a tracking mechanism, not just for the state, but for us. If a kid is chronically absent and they are not attending, how does that impact them in comparison to a kid on that same level who attends every day? We can really get some really good data from this. The next thing is a focus on accelerated tutoring rather than full remediation. As we went around to each of the schools, Dr. Wells and I we were very specific. We have a great remediation program that we do here in Amherst County, and we don't want to see that go away. We want to make sure that teachers and administrators understood remediation is important. Going back and giving students a full understanding of a concept is essential to get them to move forward. What the state is asking us to do is the research-based program called accelerated tutoring, which is very different from remediation. Accelerated tutoring is a specific skill that you go back that child was not instructed on. You pick that up, and you give intense tutoring on it so that you can build grade level knowledge so that when they get to the next, they can move forward. And I'll give you a math example, and I'm not a math person. So if I am a 5th grade student and I am weak in the area of fractions, a remediation program means I go back and I reteach you fractions. I reteach you the whole, I reteach you the half, I reteach you the quarter, everything about fractions. I'm going to remediate you on fractions. And then I'm going to hope that you move forward into grade level understanding. And high intensity tutoring, accelerated learning tutoring, you actually go back in a kid, you determine that specific skill. I may understand a whole, I may understand a half, I don't understand quarters. So I'm only going to concentrate on teaching a kid the strategies and the specific understanding of quarters, because I need to understand quarters when I get to 6th grade in order to understand and master slope. And so I have that gradual understanding or high intensity tutoring on that one skill so that I can master grade level and be prepared for the next grade level where I need to use that in another skill and in another content. That is something that we're working with teachers on to get them to understand that new concept of how to tutor. The state is coming out with information on training in regards to that, and a lot of our teachers already do that, and so that was good. The VDOE is providing us 2 different programs. One is called Zern. I was wanting to say scare. It scares me. Zern, and that is for our math, and then Ignite Reading is for a reading program. I think that's what that's called. And they're supposed to be sending out a tutoring video that was due last Friday, but we have not received that yet. And as soon as we do receive it, we're going to train everybody on it. But what this is it's a diagnostic program in the area of math and reading, so we can figure out exactly where our students are, and then it propels them through giving mini lessons. We watched information on Zern the other day, and it's very specific. It gives you the teacher's scripted lessons, so they don't have to think about what it is they're teaching. They don't have to understand I can bring a health and PE teacher in, and I can ask him to tutor high-intensity tutoring in math, because all of that information is right there and scripted for the kids and the teachers. The last thing is we have to do specific progress monitoring in regards to this, and so my staff pulled together a monitoring Google spreadsheet of every student in their groups where we can track mastery of each of the contents, the concepts or skills that they're struggling with, and then it gives a mechanism for the tutor to actually inform the classroom teacher how that child is doing, because the classroom teacher may not be that child's tutor, but we felt it very necessary for the 2 of them to communicate. what the tutor does in the high-intensity tutoring and what needs to be supported in the classroom, there needs to be some form of communication there. And we have a spreadsheet where that's available for them to be able to do. So in regards to the scheduling, we have what's called a flip-flop schedule. We have two things that are going on at the same time. The first thing is our high-intensity tutoring. That's the top line where the first 2 days are reading, and they are on the Virginia Ignite reading program. The second 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, are math, and that is on the Zern. And then Friday is our extended, that is a performance-based, and I'll explain that in a minute. Our extend focus schedule, the second one, are those students that are on grade level, but you know, every kid in our division missed something. Either they were out for COVID, we shut down. You know, when we shut down in March of 2020, we didn't go back and teach those kids the next grade level what they missed the previous year. We literally picked up and kept on moving and tried to fill in the gaps along the way. And that was done across the United States. So we know every child missed something. So we wanted to make sure that we provided them also the opportunity to participate in the diagnostics program for the state. So on Monday and Wednesday, they'll do the reading with VDOE and reading with the math VDOE. And then on Tuesdays, we have purchased iExcel reading for our 3rd through 8th grade students. And we already participated in iExcel math for our elementary and middle schools. And then on Friday, they will do an extend performance-based. So if I can talk about the extend performance-based. We knew, Dr. Wells and I talked extensively about we don't want to give up what we're already doing, and we know we need to focus on science. So we didn't want to take away from any of our science processes, but how can we use this opportunity from the state to really help us with our science and really help us focus on and engage kids back in their learning? And so we reached out to Ms. Smith and Dr. McGinnis, who have been working on the performance task, and we wanted to make sure that every Friday, every kid, kindergarten through 8th grade, had an opportunity for hands-on experiments of some sort that's connected to math and to science and reading. And we wanted to really focus in on the experience of learning. And so the last week, I say, we brought 20-some people in. Miss Smith worked multiple evenings and weekends pulling it together, and we have these extend lessons. We're actually going to start our entire program on the 24th of October with a 4-day extend Building Bridges to Success program. And I don't know if you know it, but there's this wonderful thing where kids learn how to build bridges. They read about bridges, they write about bridges, they research bridges, they draw bridges, and then they design their own bridges. And at the end of the week, they actually are given popsicle sticks and glue and rubber bands and clips and whatever they need to actually build a bridge. They're put into their groups. And then the principal, at the end of the week, they can hardly wait to do this. They're going to bring all the bridges to the cafeteria or to the gymnasium, and they're going to bring their pocketbook or a brick or a book, and they're going to see, can the bridges withstand the weight? And are they structured correctly? And how much weight can they? And they're going to have a competition in regards to it. To engage them into learning is fun. Learning, you can do things that are exciting in the classroom, and you can pull all of these things together, our reading and our math and our science, and we can focus on something. And we have a full table of candy waiting for them, those that win. So they're going to be very excited in regards to that. But it is something that we're not just going to do it that first week. Every Friday, they're going to have a hands-on extend program. And every 2 to 3 weeks, they will have a full-length extend project or program. We're going to do some things on recycling. We're going to do something on blubber. We're going to do, yeah, I got a lot of that. We're going to do something on snowflakes and the cool air. So it's something just to engage them back in their learning. And if I missed anything, feel free to, okay.
All right.
Yep.
So what we're talking about also is how we support the implementation and support our teachers. So we really want to talk about the process on instructional rounds, the veto requirements, school improvement process. We can't forget about that. That's still very important that we don't lose focus, even though we're implementing this aspect of all in, that we don't lose focus on improving our schools. I think this will help us, but also we got to continue with the processes of that. And what I am looking at, though, is what can we do to take something off a teacher's plate. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in my comments at the end. So we're looking at this process, but there's some things we can't, they're non-negotiables. We have to do lesson plans, I have to have PLC meetings. I can't take those off people's plates. But maybe something we can take off their plate that might lighten some of the load on the shoulders, so to speak. We're also doing stipends for those who are participating in this. So part of that money, the $1.2 million we've gotten, we're going to get, we can pay for stipends out of that. So about $300,000 of that I'm putting into summer school for next year, for the summer. We're buying programs with a couple $100,000 of it, and about $600,000 is going into stipends for staff that are participating in this. So we are going to give each teacher, if you're leading a group of students in tutoring, it's $1,250 for the teacher. If you're there as a teacher assistant and you're assisting the teacher, it's $750. Or if you're another assistant type position, it's $750. And we also have it structured if you're doing partial time, stuff like that, so you still get some money. But even a teacher assistant, if they're actually leading a tutoring group, they're going to get the money for leading a tutoring group, which would be the $1,250. So if you're leading that tutoring group, we're giving a stipend to you for doing that. But you can see it's quite a bit of funds. But we want to also have some reserve left over because we can carry money over for the following year. I don't think this is sustainable on our staff to do this year in, year out. But I do feel it will help us this year. We can catch up some of the gaps that we have and then come up with the moving forward, how can we implement something moving forward that is more sustainable. But we do feel we can get this through this year and help with some of the recovery. Timeline for implementation. So we have, again, September 6th, I've got the email, and since then we've been full speed ahead. So we've done the 22nd, we had an overview of division. The 25th, we had work sessions with building administrators. 26th, we started going to schools. So we've been to every school that's affected. Dr. Norman and I and her team have gone to all the schools and talked to teachers directly, and they've gotten a version of this, but not what you're getting tonight, but specific to their schools. And so the 10th, we did our teacher work day. The 12th, we're here tonight talking to you. The 23rd is another site-based day. That's already a teacher work day. The 24th, we'll kick it off, and then the rest of the year, we'll be monitoring. We'll be monitoring and adjusting as we need to. That's kind of where we are with our timeline right now. So a lot of work's been done early. The instructional off team has done a great job getting things prepared. We're doing our best to take as much of the load off the teachers as we can and giving them things they can just move forward with versus having to do all the work themselves as far as the planning and preparation.
Okay, so the second part of All in Virginia is focused on literacy. And so this has set aside some money for us to be able to implement the requirements of the Virginia Literacy Act, which is focused on grades K through 8, providing explicit reading instruction. So on the next slide, it's just kind of a summary of what we talked about last month with the Virginia Literacy Act, requiring us to adopt an evidence-based aligned curriculum from the state. As we mentioned last month, we are still in that initial process, waiting on the state to give us that updated list of materials that we can consider at the division level to support the implementation of this legislation for next fall. It has to be in place. And so It just outlines that every teacher will use evidence-based literacy curriculum, specifically grades K through 5, as well as approved supplemental curriculum all the way through grade 8. And so the next slide is just that timeline that we looked at last month, again, just showing that we are patiently waiting. They've given us a November tentative deadline for when that approved list will be provided to us for us to be able to begin that process of adoption. And then just to kind of follow up on the next slide as far as the amount of funding that's being set aside out of the All in Virginia funding specifically for Virginia Literacy Act. And so as we mentioned, the adoption of the core curriculum, but also as Dr. Norman mentioned, the purchase of that IXL reading program, which complements what our students are already getting for math, specifically K-12, and we've purchased that for 3 through 8 to support those students working during the high dosage tutoring.
You go right ahead.
Ask a quick question. Pardon me. On the IXL reading, what we're paying for this, is this like a 1-year fee?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's renewable, you have to, it's not like, okay. And then I saw at the front that it said the money they're giving will help. What percentage of the cost will that money cover?
So everything we're doing for this, we're using that money for. So we're not going above the funding that we're receiving from the state.
Wonderful, okay. Third thing is, I'm assuming that one of the conditions of the grant money is that you can only use what they have approved as evidence-based. You can't go to a different program that you know is evidence-based. You have to
Correct.
stick with their list.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an idea of a program or two that you think would be good and you think will likely be on that list?
Yes, ma'am, we're
Good.
still waiting, but yeah, there are a couple
Great.
on there that they
Okay.
kind of preliminarily released that I think are gonna be good fits.
Thank you very much.
And they have already come out with the
K-3.
K-3, and divisions around us have already adopted one for their K-3. One of the things that Ms. Wheeler and I talked about is we really want to make sure that we adopt for the span K through 8. Actually, we want to do K through 12 because when you do a program like that, it literally is best if you stick with the same company. So the last piece of it is in regards to our attendance. We have right at 181,000 that's going to be set aside for attendance and chronic absenteeism. The chronic absenteeism playbook has not been given yet. However, there's a portion in the high-intensity tutoring that talks about what chronic absenteeism is and how important it is for students to be in school in order to get a great education. If you'll notice the very bottom, the chart is about math, but what we also focused on, they've also focused on was reading. And if a person who is chronically absent in grades 3 through 8, they scored 25% lower in math, is what you see on the chart, but also 18% lower in reading, who were in comparison to those kids that were regularly at school, which that is astronomical drops or differences that we see across the board. When we look at it in regards to Amherst County Public Schools, this year we've done a really good job. Our division has done a great job in moving the bar from going from that red where we were over 15 or 20% down to where we need to be less than 15%. So if you'll notice, 10, 20, 30 days, if you look over in the 30-day column, we've got many of our schools moving into the green. And if you'll look on the next slide, this really is, this year, this is where we at 30 days into the school year. But last year, 30 days into the school year, every single school except for Temperance Elementary was in the red. So we are moving in the right direction with our chronic absenteeism. I cannot wait to see, and I know Dr. Petrone can't wait to see what the state has in store for us with their playbook and what we're required to do. But a couple of things that we are taking a look at in regards to how we spend the money. If If you click to the next one. So we want to be able to continue to have our attendance officer and our specialists. They have been integral in making sure that they go to they do home visits, they go pick up kids, they work with the outside agencies in making sure that we're working with our families to provide support. So one of the things that we'll be doing with the money is actually providing some continued personnel support. When CARES funds run out, this will help us still keep those positions in place. Funding for incentives, we have a very, very small amount of money that is used for incentive programs. This will really build the incentive programs that we have with our ATSS teams at each of the schools and making being at school, showing up a priority for all of our families as well as our students. And then any cost that's associated with transportation. You know, we go and we pick kids up from school, from the home, and bring them to school, and helping, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's gas, whether it's just making sure we have a person that is able to go around and pick up kids that don't get the bus is important. And that's one of the things that we can use with this funding as well.
All right, so next steps. So we're going to continue following up on the plan provided on October 10th with staff. Look at online learning platforms, extend lesson opportunities, student tutoring groups, and master schedules. We're also going to continue looking at social media and website updates so families understand what is going on and what it means and what we're doing. We're going to continue working with VDOE to look at approved reading curriculums to meet requirements. And we're also going to look at the chronic absenteeism playbook, again, once they come out, and kind of see how we incorporate that into our other initiatives we already have going on, such as Show Up and other things like that. So there's a lot of work still yet to be done. Our focus right now has been implementing the tutoring aspect of it, but we also are looking at the Literacy Act as well as the attendance aspect of it. I will say that, you know, when looking at all this information and making this plan, you know, no plan is perfect. Nothing we're going to do is going to be perfect. But I do want to add that we believe this plan will have a positive impact on student outcomes and student performance and just overall learning. So we do feel it'll be positive for us. In closing, I'd like to say you're all invited to come visit the schools. I would ask that you coordinate with me and Dr. Norman so we can go with you to the schools and just kind of walk through so we don't interrupt too much. But I would say if you want to come to one of the schools when we kick this off, give us a couple days to get the bugs worked out, but you're more than welcome to come with us to a school or multiple schools, and we can see what's going on, and we'd be glad to walk around with you and kind of, you know, the principals may be tutoring, they may be working with other things, so they might not be available, but that's why I say we'll be glad to come in and walk you through the schools and go from there. So we'll get a bus, or we can go visit all of them if you want to. You always let me know. So that's all we have, and if any questions, we'll be glad to try to answer them.
Board? Yes, ma'am.
First, I want to say thank you. That's a lot of work. And also
I've got a
thank you
great staff.
to the central office staff for coordinating, but also for the school staff that's working to implement it all. I know it is a lot, and you know, sitting here listening, it reminded me of when we were sitting here listening to all you were doing with COVID. So I guess it's probably a good thing that we're putting these efforts in to try to correct some of that, so thank you. My question, you sort of answered a little bit of it at the end, was about parental notification and communication home. And so I saw at the end where you had social media and website updates, and I think that's good for the overall plan, so thank you for that. Is there going to be information going home to parents so that they know what their child's participating in, what their child's weaknesses are, and do we have resources? I know we used to have textbooks, and parents could look through that, or the aunts or uncles can look through that and determine, you know, here's what you need to learn. Do we have resources to help the parental or the family connection?
Yes, ma'am. They actually can have access into, from what I understand, the state has told us that they can have access into each one of the platforms that the students are using. That was one of the reasons, and thank you very much for giving us the October 10th day. as a remote day because it allowed us to gather information from families on if they still needed hotspots or high internet access. So we would be able to make sure that families and parents had that availability to look. We have sent out, all of our principals have sent information out to their families already, either in a video or they did a Google Meet on that on October 10th, the remote day, explaining it to their families. We have a letter is going out or went out last week to the parents explaining it. And then with the report card, the SDBQ from their student growth assessment, and I think from just their student growth assessment is going to be actually sent with a cover letter with the child's report card explaining the deficiencies, why they're in the program, and what that looks like. And then they can reach out to their teacher, because we've already gone through that with each of the members of the staff or their principal, or they can contact us here at the division level.
And will they have any type of reports on their students' successes in the program?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. And then my last question, and I'm sure I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. We have many more students than we have reading and math teachers. So are all teachers participating so that
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
like all hands on deck?
We're all in.
All in.
That's what I assumed.
So, and we had some teachers who, were very nervous about, I would be nervous about teaching math. And the great thing about the program is and our state superintendent was very specific about this, the programs that they used, because it is scripted and it is very specific, and you can go back and a teacher can pull up and a lesson can be taught from the video, or they can click in and see, okay, this is what I need for this particular skill, like fractions, and they can play that lesson again, a little mini lesson. So it adjusts with the students. The one thing that they have 12 kids, or a maximum of 12 kids in the classroom, and what we wanted to be able to do was half of them are working on the computer for 20 minutes, while the other half are with that tutor going through, did you understand this? What does that look like? Can you kind of explain how you did that? The conversation, small group instruction, and that's where that scripted lesson can be printed off and the teacher can follow along with it. Or the instructional assistant we have a ton of them that are in there working side by side with the teachers that are actually saying, yes, I want to be a lead tutor on this. So that'll be good.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Justice?
Yes, thank you. So am I understanding that the curriculum is pretty much exclusively technology-based?
No, ma'am. So the first part of it is that we're wanting 20 minutes on a computer, the state program. That is one of the things, in order for us to receive the funding, we must use that research-based program. We're taking the other half of that, and it is a hands-on small group. The lesson comes from the computer, but it's actually, I'm working with this kid on this. Read this passage, let's do a choral read, let's look for comprehension strategies, let me use that. And it's very, very detailed, very scripted. We also have on Fridays the extend lessons where our teachers, my staff, has actually created, I can't tell you how many we've created. It's quite a bit. Lessons that is very specific. You say, you do, you ask. Where teachers don't have to create any of those lessons, but it's small group instruction. That's not on a computer at all.
So in the math, are we using manipulatives? In
Yes,
the
ma'am.
reading, are we using, for speech and
And
sound?
we'll still be, that's part of our normal instruction as well. So, I mean, we're not taking away from our regular instruction. This is just an addition to focus on those deficits.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the other day I did go to a couple of our schools and I met with Dr. Norman and also Mrs. Wheeler. And I was a nervous wreck. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're on the right track now, and, you know, Richmond's gonna come in and we're just gonna get all messed up again. But I actually feel pretty good about the program right now. I'm very appreciative of our staff and their team for actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting for our teachers, because they're under so much pressure right now. I didn't want to give them any more pressure, and I feel pretty good, and we're going to keep on doing what we're doing currently. We're just going to supplement with this, and hopefully everything turns out good. But thank you so much for all the hard work that everybody put into this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the board? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that this will help transition some of the positions that are CARES funded, where the funds are going out. How many positions do we have that are CARES funded?
Oh,
For-
well, for next year, we have
3, I think.
3 that will be funded using this.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah,
Rossi?
so the state rolls out this plan. How much of the plan tools have they given you so far? Have you got everything you need to implement, or are you still waiting?
We're still waiting on the actual access to Zern and Ignite. We have tools at our disposal, such as Excel math and those types of things, and Excel reading that we're doing on our own. But the state is supposed to have those programs in front of us so we can train staff on how to use them. That's one reason Dr. Norman went with the activity that first week with the bridge program first, building the bridges. So if it is not getting to us in time, we'll have time to actually train teachers. We don't expect them to get it tonight and do it tomorrow. But we are waiting on the state to give us the resources that they have said they will give us.
All right, so you're gonna give time for the teachers to,
We have to.
that you
Yeah.
can't just throw them into
So
that
that's why we've
fire.
done a lot of, that's one reason I think you have about 2 weeks worth of materials.
Yes,
already
so the first week is the bridge lessons that we're going to do, where everybody is doing that same process. And then the second, we have what we're just calling substitute lessons that we have already written and are ready and available for that second week, just in case we don't get it from the state. So we've got about 2 weeks worth of material that we already know is written and ready to go. We've purchased IXL reading. We have IXL math. Ms. Smith did all the training on that with teachers on October the 10th. We hope to train everybody on Zern and Ignite Reading on October 23rd, our next PD day, our teacher work day. But we didn't want to turn around and start on the 24th and give them a day. So we'll hopefully be able to get in, review that information with each of the faculties, have them a demo where they can kind of take a look at it. And there's a video that's supposed to be coming out, a training video that we should be getting. I'm not as concerned as I was before we created all the lessons. We've got a buffer. I'm worried about other divisions who haven't done it yet.
And so we've basically taken a little bit of time off all the other classes to make this 45 minutes up. And would it be wise to have a backup plan for some of them tutors that may not be able to be in these classrooms? I don't know if there's student teachers, students that could fall into that category.
Right now, we've actually sat the last 2 days because we have to determine stipends. And so we've talked, Ms. Wheeler, myself, and Ms. Cecil have talked to every principal about the number of tutors that they need in their building for small group instruction. They have the amount, and they have a lot of them where there's 2 people in the room. So I was concerned with a teacher's absence and what happens, and there needs to be consistency with the tutoring program with those kids. And so we've got backup. We will take any volunteer imaginable to help us, because one of the things that we can lighten the load for teachers is to give them a duty-free lunch or to have somebody cover their recess while they come in and, work and review what they have to do the next day for the tutoring assignment. So it really is all hands on deck.
And I didn't know if anybody was out to the local universities and seeing if there was a way to bring in some student teachers possibly for a couple hours a day, or,
I know Madison Heights has already reached out to Liberty University. They have a program that they run, and they've already talked to them about it.
And we're communicating with Sweet Briar on some possibilities too.
very good,
Thank you.
good work.
Anything else from the board? Dr. Norman, can you start over and go through that again? That's the piece of it. Yeah.
We'll leave, you have a copy of the PowerPoint, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Moving on.
I would like to thank my staff. They have, I think it was a COVID nightmare. We all went back to that
Some
part.
PTSD.
PTSD. But I will tell you that I'm grateful that we went through that so that we could have done this. They are a phenomenal, phenomenal staff, and our administrators have been over backwards. Even Mr. Crawford, I've given him some elementary people because he did elementary, and so he's helped out as well. Thank you.
And again, I want to echo that and thank Dr. Norman for all her work, but also her staff. They've done a great job getting everything prepared, and now it's just a matter of implementing. So appreciate all the hard work everyone's done to get us to where we are.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. Moving on.
All right, part two.
Where are we? That's what I thought. Okay.
Thought I was done. Come on, guys. Okay. So, well, I will tell you that there is all in Virginia frequently asked questions that just came out from VDOE. It's hot off the press today. I will make sure Ms. McNerney has that so you can find that on board docs or emailed. The next part I want to talk to you about is the new accreditation system. So the state last year decided that they wanted to revamp the accountability structure for the state. They have, the Virginia Board of Education has the last probably 4 months have reviewed each aspect of the accountability system in Virginia. Last month, they came away with making some decisions. I have not fully gone through every single aspect. When I got the actual PowerPoint and the presentation and the booklet, it was about 50 slides. So I've pulled the big, huge components from it so I could just give you this information, and then we will come back at a later time to go through the nitty-gritty of how this impacts Amherst County Public Schools. It is a very different way of looking at accreditation and accountability through our state. There were 4 things that they decided to do. Timeline for implementation. It will be implemented by August of 2024, so it's a short time frame to ramp up a brand new accountability system. The discussion of Virginia's accreditation system and the changes that were needed in the area of student achievement. So it not only focused on all the graduation requirements or anything like that, but it was specific to the achievement of reading and math. Options for a new measure of achievement. So how do we determine if a child is on grade level, below grade level, above grade level, and then options on a new accountability rating system, meaning right now we are rated with either you're accredited with conditions, or you're not accredited, you're denied accreditation. Now they're looking at a different rating scales, 3 out of 5 stars, A through F, 1 through 4, which I don't think any of them are giving us a really good indicator of where schools are, but that's a new rating system that they are going to be working towards.
So we've been told, when I was at a meeting, Ms. Berg-Gower, Ms. Thompson, we went to the one with the VSBA one, and they said that, part of the thing we're hearing from the state is they will not do A through F scale, but we don't know what the scale's gonna look like. A through F or 1 through 5 is still the same thing. So I'm not sure what they're going to come up with, but hopefully they'll come up with something that gives a true picture of what schools are, not a grade per se. Because like I said, that's not the way to show accreditation and stuff like that with the school. So we're waiting to hear. Hopefully we'll know more here pretty soon.
There were 3 different things that they made decisions on. The first one was they have a new index of performance, and it's focused specifically on reading and math, and it's not just a raw pass rate. The second was they have these new indicators of readiness. For elementary, it's called Ready to Learn indicator, which focuses on chronic absenteeism. It also is a ready to read indicator, which means that it ensures mastery of reading on grade 3 by the time you get to grade 3 or the end of grade 3. At middle school, the indicators are the same as ready to learn, which is your chronic absenteeism, and then ready for rigor, which is focused on math. And it's 2 parts. It's one, ready for rigor for an advanced math pathway, and then to ensure math mastery by the 8th grade. And so those are brand new ways to go about looking at the achievement indicators, where we're so used to looking at subgroups and what those indicators are. Now it's all about that achievement and the mastery. And then the third was discussion of the rating scale, which Dr. Wells already mentioned that. As soon as Dr. Wells and I can kind of sift through what this looks like for Amherst County, we'll be back to you with more information. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I don't know if I can.
This came out last night. So
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I know you don't know much because they just gave it to you, but do we know if what they're developing is similar to anything other states have done?
Yes, ma'am. Ohio, California, and Tennessee are the 3 states that they have indicated that they have reached out to, or that they have performance information and indicators on.
Thank you.
Anything else on the board? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So next we have Mr. Gallagher of Human Resources.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I have only a few brief items for you this evening. The first is our monthly, our monthly vacancy memo. So you can take a look at that. There have been a few additions, I believe, since last month, and those have been either due to promotional opportunities or for family personal reasons, individuals who are not going to continue teaching due to maybe some other priorities. So. But we do continue to try to actively find ways to fill those spots on a short-term basis with qualified long-term subs, and then ultimately fill them with qualified licensed and certified teachers. Our next push will be to begin recruiting and communicating with all of our universities that we recruit from for the possibility of December graduates. That will be our next push. And we also have a few others who may be waiting in the wings because they're currently student teaching with us and being December graduates, or already within our ranks with certification and endorsements that we might be able to move them into positions. So any questions you might have, I'm happy to take.
Board? Yes, ma'am.
One quick question on the bus drivers.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
just had the training. Were we able to get any out of there?
So I'll skip right to my next agenda item, and then I can always go back to vacancies. But, we do have that bus driver referral program that we started, which is a $500 signing bonus for those that are referred, $250 for those that actually make the referral if they're on board for a 3-month period successfully. We did actually, as of last month, we had 1 hire in that regard, and that's still going well. We have 1 individual who will be testing very soon, and hopefully that will result in a second hire in a very short period of time. And then there are 2 individuals who are in the training process. All 4 of these individuals are referral-based. So 1 hired, 1 we're projecting to hire soon, and that's going to go well, hopefully, and then 2 that are still in the training process. So that's been helpful, that's been beneficial.
Would those be the full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
Great, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I was just looking at your list, And I didn't see any vacancies for science, history, or math, right? Is that correct?
That is currently the case. Yeah.
That's great. That's a
Well,
vast.
no, I'm sorry, we do have
no.
history. I'm overlooking, social studies.
Social studies position.
Okay,
Excuse me,
social
but
studies.
science and math, yes, you're correct. But the
That
two
is
social studies
great.
positions, by the way, one of those is already filled for second semester. And we have multiple qualified candidates that we'll be able to consider for the other position that are already shown interest and applied, but they're also December graduates. So we're very confident that those, well, I know that one of those two social studies will come off second semester, and I'm pretty positive the other will as well.
That's great, thank you. And I'm looking at Central there with the elementary and the reading specialist. Are those positions that weren't filled at the beginning, or is it because we have new funding and so we can hire more?
The reading specialist position became available. That's due to somebody leaving that position.
Okay.
And the two elementary positions, those were there at the beginning. One of those individuals, any day now, will likely forward their information that they're provisionally eligible, and the other one is able to seek a program to become provisionally eligible, but isn't as far along at this point in time. But they're both the individuals that started in that position, but they've both been vacant since the beginning of the year.
So if I understand you correctly, we have people, qualified people in those positions. One
have-
will be licensed, provisionally licensed relatively.
We have two long-term subs in those positions. One has already been accepted into a program and has to, test out, practice testing, but has also passed a few courses, and any day will likely have their acceptance as being provisionally eligible. The other meets all criteria to be accepted into that program, but has not taken the steps to be accepted into that program yet. So we will see where that goes.
So there's consistent teaching. There's a
Yes.
consistency
It's been
there.
consistent since the beginning of the year,
Great.
and they've both done a nice job.
Great, thank you.
One more quick
Yes, ma'am.
thing. I just wanted to say also that when I was speaking with our teachers, I spoke with some of our student teachers, and they are all very, looking forward to getting ready and coming to actually hopefully get hired by Amherst.
Well, we're looking forward to considering them, so.
And some of our new teachers that we just hired too, they said that, they could have went anywhere, but they really loved our staff, loved the support that they were going to receive here, and that's why they chose Amherst. So that made me feel really good.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. That is good to hear. And we do try to encourage as many student-teacher placements as we can from our local universities as well, because we want to have individuals we can grow and who can actually experience what it is like to be here, so that we do have those opportunities. So that is promising.
All right, thank you for everything everyone's doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else from the board? Thank you, sir.
Okay. The last piece, the last piece I have is just the memo I'll bring back to your attention, and that is the ACPS sick leave benefit supplement for the current school year that was proposed. I think we maybe for first read 2 months ago. Last month, I think it was actually proposed for your consideration and review. And at this time, just to revisit that to see if there's any action that you wish to take on that. I do think those are benefits that would be appreciated and welcomed by all of our employees. However, it is your all's discretion as to what it is you'd like to do as far as action on that item.
Anything from the board?
If everybody is okay with it, I would like to make a motion to pass this to support our teachers as it's presented.
Okay.
And
Well-
I'm sorry, I apologize. It is all employees that are contracted,
Oh,
part-
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I may have
Everyone.
I may have
All
misspoken,
inclusive.
but yes, indeed. All of our educators.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Second?
Do I have a second? Any discussion before we go any further? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? There you go.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gallagher. I know you worked on this.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. 9.01.
So, next, we have our student reps, and I know one of them couldn't be here tonight, but Mr. Goins is, so we'll turn it over to him. But we'll be if not.
There you go.
Good evening. It's nice to be here, meeting with you all again. Hope all has been going well. I would like to start off by saying our students at CVCC, Governor School, and STEM have been finding great success so far throughout this school year, and I've been hearing the exact same from my peers at the high school. Since we last met, Amherst County High School had our homecoming dance. It was a great turnout. The kids had a very good time. It was nice to see the students come together and just have a great time together with no any type of drama. And I believe that these types of events are important for our school spirit and bond within the student body. This Friday, tomorrow night, we also have our football team playing. We'll be facing a rival in Brookville. We'll be playing at the stadium. This will be our pink out game to show our support and awareness for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I hope to see you all there wearing pink, supporting us. After our last meeting, we also had back-to-school nights for the schools in our area. I would say that they were all a good success, but one school in particular I would like to point out, as I attended their back-to-school night after my practice, is Manelson Middle School. They had a huge turnout for their back-to-school night. There were people literally everywhere just coming in and out. They had food vendors, game trucks, and the farmers market was there. They had just about everything. So I'd like to put a spotlight on them just for how well they organized and put together a great event. And you can definitely tell that their school spirit and the bond within the faculty and staff and the students is very high there. Last time we had talked about an issue with the attendance rate, and I spoke about how the faculty and staff could contribute to this problem by making it a point of emphasis to be more welcoming and interactive with the students as they enter the building. Since then, we have lost one of our own teachers, Mr. Pfister. And I bring this up because even though I never had him as a teacher, I can remember having to walk past his classroom in the morning to get to my class when I was in 10th grade. He always, and I mean always, had a smile on his face every morning, and he made sure to welcome every student that passed by him on their way to class. Many other students in the building I know for a fact can say the same. This being said, I feel every teacher should make it an emphasis just as he did, and I know that that would please him very much to see his coworkers and friends do the same good that he had done. That's all I got for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board, anything for our student rep? Okay. I'll have mine at the end.
All right, I've got to follow that one now.
Thank you,
All right.
Dr. Wells. Next.
Thank you, sir. So, superintendent matters. So, hit a few things with you. First, I want to talk about the superintendent's advisory. So, we started having our advisory council meetings, and as we talk about the All in Virginia plan with them, I really wanted them, we talked about what can we take off teachers' plates, and I really wanted to have our council go back and talk to their staff and teachers at the school to come back with suggestions as to what teachers say we could consider, as opposed to me just having a bright idea that might be good at something, but really to hear from our staff. So come back in November. They've been tasked to come back in November and give me some ideas, and then we can work from there to see if any of those are we can make happen or not. Again, we have some non-negotiables that we can't really do, but there may be some things that they think of that we haven't thought of. So I really wanted to give it back on the teachers and get some input from them. The groundbreaking, I just want to thank all of you who could be here. I know some of y'all were out of town and could not be here, but really appreciate the turnout for the groundbreaking ceremony. We didn't make too big a mess for Gary to clean and his crew to clean up, but I feel it was a good afternoon, it was a good day for that, and I think things went fairly well with that ceremony. So I appreciate y'all being there for that, and the support you've given me and the staff during this process, because I've had to ask you to come in twice now in separate meetings to sign resolutions and things of that nature, and the work done prior to all this, but I just appreciate the support that y'all have given us as we've worked through this process. Next we have tailgates. So tomorrow is our tailgate, and you have the flyer, and y'all should have a copy of this, I believe, at your place. So tomorrow we have the 13th, it's the elementary schools, and we're starting at 5 o'clock. And we'll have hamburgers and hot dogs and sides and whatever else Brittany bought today. I know we're having s'mores. She wanted s'mores and hot chocolates, and it's getting cool, so we'll have that going on too. So if any kids wanted that, but we encourage you to be there as well as our staff. And then the 27th will be the last home football game, regular season game for the school. We'll do the secondary schools then, so middle schools and high schools will be invited that night. So y'all are welcome and encouraged to attend, and hopefully we'll get a good turnout The weather's been kind of questionable this week. Looks like it's going to be a good day tomorrow, and hopefully, again, folks come out for that. Show Up Day. We had Show Up Day on the 29th of September, and I was able to make it to 4 of the schools on the north end. Again, due to groundbreaking, I couldn't get time to go to the south end, but everywhere I went, things were really good. The kids were excited. At Central, they had Temperance had the planetarium. Central, they had some pies to the face and students getting recognized for attendance. The Amherst Middle, they had it was appreciation for public servants. They had law enforcement. They had a state police helicopter there, and so forth. And Amherst Elementary, Mr. Maddox brought the Lancer Express bus up there for the 5th graders, and they got to fly drones and do all those activities. It was a good day. I know the south end of the schools, although I wasn't there, they had good activities as well. So I just appreciate that, and hopefully, again, it gives students that incentive to come to school and be recognized. We can recognize them for being here. It gives that little incentive to say that little push to improve attendance. So hopefully, we're seeing a gain there. With our comprehensive plan, this is the last year of our current comprehensive plan, and so right now we're reviewing that, and we will come to you in November with an analysis of where we are with the plan. It'll be important to remember that this plan was written prior to COVID, the current plan. And so some things that we said we were going to do, we might not have been able to do because of COVID, and we might have got sidetracked by having to go different directions. But so we'll bring it to you in November. We have to review that with you. And then we're also starting to work on the 24 to 29 comprehensive plan. And so we're going to have, we're starting our committees now. You're all welcome to serve on a committee if you would like to. We'll give you the list of those committees, and if you'd like to be on one, you're more than welcome to join us on those committees. Brittany can send that out to you if you want to serve on one. You're more than welcome to serve on one and be a part of those committees. So that way, when we come back to the board for discussions, y'all might have some more input into conversation about what's been discussed in those committees. So you're welcome to join us on those. But we are starting that process, and we'll have 2 dates. We have November 28th. Thank you. November 28th at the high school, and that'll be from 6 to 8:15. We're getting community input there, and we'll do one on the south end on December 6th at Manellison. Again, these are for community members and families, students, whoever they want to come in and give us input into where we are with our plan and what they'd like to see us focus on. We'll have 6 breakout rotations, so people can go to each of those 6. They can go whichever ones they want to regarding the aspects of the plan, and they can give feedback on that. Again, you're welcome to be there if you can. So we'll have those two nights, community feedback. Then we'll take that information and kind of plug that into where we are with our committees and try to incorporate as much of that as we can into our plan based on community feedback. We do feel it's important to get this feedback from our community, from our teachers, and from our students as to areas they think we need to focus on.
Dr. Wells, the 28th is where?
That's at the high school. Okay. And we'll be in the cafeteria.
Okay, and then the 6th is Manellison?
That's at Manellison. Will be in the cafeteria as well.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I have Take Your Legislature to School Month, and that is November. Every seat in our district, in our area across the whole state, is up for re-election this year. And so I can't really start inviting people prior to the election. So we're going to have our meeting on the 30th. That way, November 30th, we're going to be at Elon and kind of highlight Elon a little bit. But I won't be able to send invitations out to our legislators until we know who they are. And so once we get the election results in, we'll send invitations out for them to attend if they can. And so I didn't want to send it out to everybody running and then for the House seats, for the state seats, and then the person not win in the House or in the Senate. And then so we wanted to wait until we had clear winners on the state seats. So we'll send those out, but they'll be on the plan on November 30th at Elon for that. We'll send more information to you on that as we get closer. That's just a placeholder for now. All right. Next, the Virginia Department of Health has a survey they give students. Amherst County High School was selected for the survey. You have a copy of it under executive content. I will say some of the questions in there, I have some reservations about. But what the VDH will do is, we know it's going to be the day. Mr. Crawford has already set the date with them. They're going to notify us. Anywhere from 2 to 6 classes will be selected from the high school. Once those classes are selected, we will send notification to those parents, because we have to notify them within 30 days, 30 days or more prior to the survey being administered. And parents do have they can opt out. They can opt their children out. We will also make the survey available to those parents if they want to see the survey prior to have an idea. We're not going to post it to the whole county because it only affects those two. I don't want to scare make the whole county think this applies to their students. It only applies to those 2 to 6 classes that the VDH selects. But we will send those parents, they'll have access to view it, the survey if they so choose. And you have a copy of it. Again, we've put it on board docs. You can view that. Again, some of the questions I have some reservations about, but again, it's up to the parents to decide if they want their children to take the survey or not. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a survey we are required
Yes.
to do? Who requires that?
The state says we have to allow the VDH to do the survey. The data they get we get good information from it, but some of the questions, that's why I really want parents to know what the questions are. And if they feel uncomfortable about it, they can opt their students out of it.
So there's a Virginia code that says we have to do this?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, board? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
You've looked at the survey. Does it violate our survey policy in any way?
No, because it would do the 30-day notice. It just asks questions. I'll let you look at it.
Yes,
and then we
thank
can talk later. But some of them get a little personal. And so that's why, again, I want parents to take a look at it before they make that determination.
Dr. Wells.
Sir.
Parents have the option to opt their child out of the survey.
They have to give permissions for them to take the survey.
They have to get permissions to take it.
Yeah, that 30-day notice that goes out to parents.
Right. And if they all refuse to take the survey, then what do we report
We don't
back?
administer the survey. If you don't have students to take it, it's up to the parents.
All right.
I think some parents may find things where they don't want to give it. Some parents may not. So, but we'll let the parents make that decision.
Very good.
Okay. Anything else, board?
Okay. The Community Strategic Planning Survey results from Hanover. So earlier this last year at the fall, in the spring, we did a survey through Hanover, trying to get some ideas on where the community felt we were as a school division, so I can use this to kind of focus our strategic plan, our conference plan moving forward. So some areas they felt that were seen as most high priority from the respondents was retaining high-quality teachers, support for students who need behavioral supports, resources for mental health and well-being of students, retaining staff to meet our needs, and monitoring staff satisfaction and adjusting accordingly. So those are areas the community felt were things we should focus on. Items rated as good or excellent from respondents was responding to parents' questions and concerns, so I'm glad they felt pretty good about that. Communicating effectively with parents, providing technology resources, encouraging parents to engage with their child's school, and providing effective performance feedback. So those areas, again, respondents felt that we were doing a good job. Planning survey results. So that student learning outcomes, these are factors related to student learning that receive the most high priority. Again, teaching students communication skills, collaboration, listening, conflict resolution, teaching students self-management skills, and teaching students problem-solving skills were 3 areas they felt we needed to focus on. They also said support for students. We need to support their mental health, behavioral health. Students need more mental health and well-being resources, and supporting students who need academic support. So a lot on behavior, a lot on mental health were the two highest priorities there. School climate and culture. It felt we need to focus on inspiring students to enjoy learning. So as part of this engage, that's how we're doing some of these activities in here. So it's not just focused on learn this stuff that you didn't get, but how can we take that and apply it to make it fun? Providing safe learning space for students and also school climate. How can we make students like coming to school? And hopefully we're doing better at that this year as a focus point. Other results, we're engaging families and communities. We're encouraging parents to engage with their child's school, involving parents in their child's learning, and partnering with the community to provide supports to students. Staffing, again, so retaining high-quality teachers, retaining the proper staff, and recruiting high-quality teachers is where they want us to focus. And then staff support, again, monitoring staff satisfaction and adjusting, fostering supportive environment among staff, and providing opportunities for peer collaboration. Again, some of the tailgates and things like that is what we're trying to do to foster that supportive environment for staff. So those are the highlights. I know it was really quick, but if you can take a look at that, if you have questions during the month, I'd be glad to try to answer those. But we'll take this data, and then as we do our comprehensive plan, try to incorporate some of this data into our goals for our comprehensive plan moving forward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
quick question. It seems like I've seen it, but it's not on this document, the number of people who responded and what percentage.
Yes.
Was that in last month?
That was previously, and I'd have to pull it to give it to you, but it was, I want to say 300 and some
But
respondents.
we have that in another
Yes, I have it.
agenda.
I can get it to you. I just don't have it in
can
front of
look
me
it up.
right
All
now.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it was last month. It was sort of like. it
Yeah,
was
last month, the month before.
Okay, I can look. Thank you.
But if you can't, we have it. I just don't have it in front of me.
Certainly. Thank you.
Anything else on the board?
And, yes, ma'am. We good? Okay.
Okay.
The last for me is the VSBA convention. The convention, I got my dates written down right here, November 15th to the 17th. And so far, Ms. Ligon and Ms. Berg have said they were going. If anyone else intends to go, please let us know. If not, we'll start canceling hotel rooms. Right now, we've already made reservations for hotel rooms. So if you don't feel you can go, let us know so we can cancel those rooms so we're not paying for them. But if you'd like to go, you're more than welcome to go, and I'll be there, and we'll see what the VSBA has to say at the conference. And I'll be running in a little 5K race again this year too. So, and that's all I have. I'll be glad to take any questions you may have.
Board, anything for Dr. Wells? All righty.
All right, thank you.
Moving on. So next, we're going to move to committee reports and individual reports from our school board. So if you have a committee report, we can combine it and get it done. Ms. Saunders, can you start us off, please?
Gladly. Well, I want to congratulate all the students who were the student of the month, but I will have to say I noticed it was all girls, girl power. I'm going to have to challenge those boys to step it up next month. So, all in, what a massive amount of work that was in a short amount of time. And I know it's going to make a huge difference, but thank you, Dr. Norman, to you and your staff and all that worked on it, and a future thank you for all the tutors, because that's a huge amount of work as well, because I was wondering how that was going to work. So I was really interested in how you're going to clone these teachers. So I think that's about it, except for Go Lancers tomorrow night.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rossi?
Yeah, a lot of work been going on around here. I don't know, I know getting through COVID was quite a team effort, and it looks like the challenge has been brought up again, and moving forward past COVID and dealing with the hole that COVID left. I think the program is solid. I think we're going to see improvement, and it's going to close the gap. And I think you're right. I don't think of it as learning loss. I think it's learning that needs to be taught. So I think the teachers are ready for the challenge. I know it's not going to be easy, but I think the rewards are going to be great. In the end, next year, as the loss or education is gained, it's going to be easier in the following year. It's always a struggle, striving for perfection. That target keeps moving. And the state seems to be doing a pretty good job of that right now. I'm hoping they get us all the tools we need. But we've been in harder situations and pulled through. And I think we're going to pull through this one again. I know I've gotten some concerns from citizens over the week. I know that there's an open door policy here. I think that if you have any questions, see the principal, call the school, come to the school. Don't be afraid to knock on a door. Come up here to the administration office. I'm sure somebody will talk to you and get you the answers you need. And if not, then, well, you can call me back. We'll keep things moving forward. And I'd like to thank all of you for all your hard work and everything that you're doing. And I am looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Absolutely. Come on out. Get you some burgers.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Justice?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, Virginia Governor's School did not meet, but that doesn't mean great things aren't happening at the Governor's School. They've had a lot of special speakers and a lot of engaging experiences for the students there. And I believe Mr. Goins testified that that is what he's hearing in the school populace. And that is showing a true congruency between what we think is happening and what is happening. So that's really encouraging. This evening, to me, has been phenomenal. What an effort from our administrators and their team. And truly, this effort reflects the Team Amherst culture that is endemic to Amherst County, specific. The teachers I got to speak with, just because I live in Amherst, were really attesting to the hard work that was required of them, but the positive vision they had that this work was worth it. It was last minute, not because of our district, but because of the state. But the work they were doing, they knew was making a difference in their students and in the staff relationships. Mr. Goins, again, we spoke about Mr. Pfister and that model, and I know that some of the teachers that I spoke to regarding Mr. Pfister attested to the difference he made in school environment and testing scores, math tutoring, and I think it's a reminder again, we never know how much time we have, and we never know the impact we're making, but there's a lot of impact there, and there's a lot of impact opportunities. So again, I'm thankful to be in Amherst.
Thank you, Ms. Justice. Ms. Berg?
Yes, I just wanted to, again, congratulate all our students of the month. It's especially that little one. She was adorable. You couldn't even see her over the thing here. And also, it was nice hearing from John. I know you had to fly solo today. You had some big shoes to fill with Lily gone, but you did a great job. And again, I would like to thank you about recognizing, Mr. Fistus. And it's amazing because I heard the same stories from some of the students that, they didn't have him as a teacher, but you know what? They're really going to miss him because every day he was there in the hallway greeting our kids, saying hi. And it's the little things like that, I think, that make the big difference, that sets Amherst apart from everyone else. Also, had a great time at the groundbreaking ceremony. I know I spoke with Miss Liggins, and we never thought that day was going to come, but it came. Now we just have to actually break the ground, and then we'll be good. And also, I'd like to say congratulations to Dr. Wells for his race. It was the Army 10-miler. I guess you won the race. And
So if I won the family race.
the family, okay. Show up Amherst. He showed up and he won, so. And let's see here. Looking forward to the tailgate tomorrow, and thank everybody so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ligon?
Well, I was just going to echo all the good news we've heard tonight. Everything's been good. A lot of work going on, as we've already heard, and I was getting ready to say, and I still will, that the DOE is constantly a revolving door. You never know what's gonna come out of them. Now possibly new accreditation practices. I thought I just heard that not too long ago, and we adapted to that, and now we're gonna adapt again if we can. That's all good. And yes, it is a huge amount of work that but you explained it so well. This new process of remediation and tutoring makes it sound easy, but I know it's gonna be a lot of down in the trenches work, so we'll be here to support you the best we can. I was first thinking, when I heard about that and read about it a couple of days ago, that we were going backwards, let me just reframe what I'm saying, in grouping people. I've never been for grouping and pulling people out of a classroom and setting people apart. I've never been too much for that. However, I am for helping and remediating and tutoring as long as it's kept on the right profile. So we want to be careful that we don't just start this pulling people out and being set apart in the wrong direction, but make sure that they understand, that the parents understand, and that the children understand we're doing this for the good of them so that we can get everybody on the same plane. So I just want to be careful about that. But everything else is wonderful. And yes, the groundbreaking, the back-to-school events, seeing the principal at Manelson being dunked, it's extraordinary. And John, you were right, that was a great event there. And I did go up to show up Amherst, one of the things at Amherst Middle, because I enjoy those great big trucks that they have down there. So it's just good stuff going on. And I appreciate Dr. Wells taking the time, and not that he wouldn't, to recognize the losses of the people in our system. Mr. Crouch that night, it was wonderful to have some of his players come back, and we made notice of that. And then at the same time, had a loss at the high school. There's a lot going on that night. You know, I was trying to absorb it all, but it's just good business. So we appreciate everything that's going on. As far as my Lowell has not met yet, again, since I talked with you, but I see Dr. Lewis quite often. Things are well there. As far as VSBA, we've had those legislative positions for a minute. I'm not going to do too much with that tonight. If you see issues with that, just email me.
Okay.
I did not see anything alarming that we could not justify me voting for, but my email, just send it to me and say, I don't like this, and we'll deal with that. And I think we meet one more time before going in November, so I'll be open to that. But other than that, once again, thank everybody for the hard work. And yes, these little people own up. That was just magnificent. That makes you feel good. That makes everybody else want to come to school every day. When you hear about perfect attendance, I hope they tell their friends. Everybody come to school every day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Thompson?
Just to piggyback on Mrs. Ligon about the VSBA, that you will be voting on their, what do you call it, their priorities?
Legislative positions.
Thank you, legislative positions. Mrs. McNerney, I believe you printed these or purchased these and gave them to each of us previously. Right, so I just wanted to remind you that you should all have a copy of them if you want to look at those and give feedback to Mrs. Lakin. The other thing is, I want to say, Mr. Goen, everyone has mentioned this, but just your challenge to honor Mr. Pfister. I think it's everyone just knows that he has impacted the students' lives in such a way that we hear about it in everywhere we go in our community. So, there's a challenge. Maybe we can have a Mr. Pfister Friday or Mr. Pfister Day or something where all the teachers get out and just really get to know those kids. I heard that he not only said hi, but he knew their names and he knew what was important to them and, what they had going on the night before. So that's not always easy to do for everyone. Like my personality, is not quite that outgoing, but I could do it, once in a while if I'm challenged. So I think that might be something good that you could work on. Also want to say how impressed I am that the referral process for transportation has worked. So just great idea. I encourage you to continue to do that we've gotten 2 referrals, I believe, or maybe 2. So need to continue that. The Student of the Month, great idea. I know that have those students to be able to shine, and every opportunity we can find is just wonderful for that, so thank you. And then board, one last thing. I talked with some of you about policy BCE, and I believe Mrs. McNerney has put that into our folders. Is that correct? For you to review about our committees. And I asked Dr. Wells this evening if he would just touch base with our attorney to make sure that's something that we could discuss and maybe consider having some additional committees. So I just want to let you know where we were on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So it has been a busy month. I've had the privilege of attending the Fields of Faith event that was at the high school the other night. It's always a great thing to see people coming out for. The freshman play, if you got a chance to see that, I love going to the plays. Those kids, seeing the older kids interacting with the freshmen and coaching them up, there's so much fun. We got to be part of the groundbreaking. The candidate forum. It's not a lot of fun sitting up in front of people answering a bunch of questions, but you know what? It was good to see the community come out and being a part of the process. It is part of showing up Amherst. And the Eagle Bash, those back to school nights. Love seeing the kids and parents come out and interacting at the schools. It's so much fun. The All In Virginia, boy, that's a lot. But it's where we need to be. We do recognize that there's growth we still need to make and places we need to be. We can't get complacent. We're doing well in some areas, but we need to keep it up. We need to move on a little further. And hearing that, we got teachers stepping out of their comfort zone and tutoring in a way that they're maybe not comfortable doing. That's Amherst taking care of Amherst. And that's what we're really looking for right there. I saw a post online with the Overdue Brew coffee shop at the high school. They had Pfister Family Day. It's a fundraiser. There again, it's Amherst taking care of Amherst. That's what we're looking for around here. They don't learn that on their own. They see that. They're taught that. They learn how to go out and take care of others. We're teaching those kids more than just math and reading. And our teachers are showing them that. Hopefully their parents are showing them that. Our goal here is to teach our students, but when they graduate, we want them to turn into good citizens. So I think we're doing a good job there. Dr. Wells, you said something about going to school on Saturdays. I think we went to school on Saturdays back when it snowed.
Snow days.
So I don't know, We're a little bit older than a lot of them, though. So anyway, and our Students of the Month. That's a great recognition for the kids. But I do have to have a shout out for one who wasn't a Student of the Month. But I was propositioned by a third grader at Elon Elementary. His name is Camden Murray. He wanted to know why he couldn't have a hat day at Elon Elementary. And I said, well, thank you, sir, for coming to the school board and requesting that day. So I have talked with his principal, and I'm happy to announce that on October 25th, they'll have a hat day at Elon Elementary. So all of the students at Elon can thank Camden for that. And so he will be a future student rep on the school board, I think. He's going above and beyond already. But thanks to the student reps. John, thanks for coming out. You sat through a lot. I know you got a lot going on. You sit there and take it all. So, but also, we talked a little bit about COVID. The pandemic is over. But as we've heard from people, connectivity is still lacking in our county. We'd like to think that we've learned a lot from the pandemic and have moved on, but we still have some gaps that we may not be able to fix here, but we can get those in our community to get out there and help us get them fixed, because our students need it, I need it, a lot of us need it. So, it's out there. It's an issue. It's not just a school issue, it's a county issue. I don't go outside the county much, so I'm sure it's a state issue, but it's Amherst County issue. So let's get Amherst County taking care of Amherst County. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. So, Ms. Thompson, two questions. One, 683 respondents to the survey. 28% were students, 21% were parents, and 51% of those were staff. And so it was 683 total. And then the requirement for the survey is Code of Virginia 32.1-73.8. So thank you for my staff for giving me that information while y'all were talking.
Oh, it's fast.
So, but thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Terry, at
Okay, so,
this point, I have something to read?
yes, I do.
All right, so
Okay,
I get to go first, and you can.
all right, then you go.
Yeah. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 and A2 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following: A1 personnel matters. The personnel matters, A1 personnel matters, the superintendent's evaluation and contract will be discussed, and personnel matters will be discussed. And A2, student matters and the consideration for religious exemption requests will be discussed.
Okay. So in accordance with Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, I need a motion from the board to convene in a closed meeting to discuss the following: A1, personal matters, A1, personnel matters for the superintendent's evaluation and contract will be discussed, and personnel matters will be discussed, and student matters, and the consideration of religious exemption requests will be discussed. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we
Okay.
go into closed session for all of those reasons.
These things. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. We are in closed session.